My girlfriend cheated with my supposed friend, flaunting their affair in my house and online. I just walked away. They thought they'd won. But now they need my help. And the look on their faces when they saw me again was priceless. That's when I delivered the final, crushing blow. It all started innocently enough. Or so I thought. I'd been with Jane for just over a year when I met Joe. We connected over our mutual love for this sport. You know, the kind of thing where you sweat it out together, push each other, and then grab a beer afterward. He seemed like a decent enough guy. A bit goofy. Maybe not the sharpest tool in the shed. But good company. I introduced him into my circle. Like you do with new friends. We'd hang out. Go to games. Sometimes he'd even come over to the house. At that point, everything felt solid between me and Jane. Like we had this safe, loyal thing going. I really believed I was building a future. Providing for her. Giving her opportunities she hadn't had before. Then, Jane started insisting on coming to my training sessions. She'd never really been into the sport. But suddenly she was all about it. At first, it felt good. Like she was showing support. Taking an interest in my life. I'd look over and see her on the sidelines. Scrolling on her phone sometimes. Other times watching us. I didn't think much of it. Just figured she enjoyed being around. But after about a year of this, things started to feel off. It was subtle at first. Like a low hum you can't quite place. I'd catch her watching Joe. A different kind of look in her eyes. Not like she watched anyone else. When Joe would joke, she'd laugh a little too loud. A little too long. She'd always find an excuse to be near him. Lingering after practice. Making small talk while I was packing up my gear. One time, I walked up as she was talking to him. And they both just stopped talking and laughed. Then she turned to me with this overly bright smile. My gut tightened. My brain immediately tried to rationalize it. Maybe she just thinks he's funny. Maybe I'm just tired. I kept pushing down that flicker of unease. Trying to tell myself I was just being insecure. That she was just being friendly. But the shifts in her behavior were undeniable. Her voice would soften when she spoke to him. She'd make these little gestures that I knew were usually reserved for me. I mean, come on, Joe. The guy was a brick wall when it came to abstract thought. He had zero ambition. No real prospects. What could she possibly see in him? I tried to shake it off. To focus on my relationship with Jane. We'd built something good. Something I believed in. Then, life decided to kick me while I was already trying to juggle. I hit a rough patch at work. Poor treatment. Bad management. It got to a point where I just couldn't stay. So, I left. I was unemployed for about 2 months. And that period was tough. Money was tight. Stress levels were through the roof. I was worried about my future. About our future. My focus shifted inward. Trying to figure out my next move. And it was during that scramble, while I was trying to hold my own world together, that her secret world with Joe started to bleed into mine. It's like, when I was at my most vulnerable, the thing I was unconsciously worried about was allowed to fester. Looking back, I was so caught up in my own mess that I almost didn't see the full scope of what was happening right under my nose. I had all these little pieces of the puzzle, but I was so busy trying to keep my head above water, I just couldn't put them together. What would you guys have done in my shoes? How do you even begin to confront someone when the signs are so subtle, and you're already feeling the pressure of losing your job? I felt like I was losing my mind trying to tell myself I was the one overthinking it. Being unemployed for those 2 months felt like a pressure cooker. My focus was all on finding a new job, trying to keep our finances stable, and just generally not losing my mind. But while I was scrambling, Jane was apparently building a whole secret life. It wasn't one big explosion. It was like a slow, creeping realization. One evening, I was using her tablet for something, and a social media notification popped up. It was from Joe. I didn't mean to snoop, but the snippet I saw, it wasn't just friendly banter. My gut dropped. What kind of conversations are they having that she's hiding? I thought. My immediate reaction was a cold knot in my stomach. I felt a surge of adrenaline. But I didn't want to accuse her without more. I needed to know what this was. Over the next few days, I started paying closer attention. The phone habits. The late-night texts she'd quickly dismiss. The way she'd always keep her phone face down. It was during this period that the full scope of their hidden activities began to claw its way into my awareness. I found out they were meeting up, often with Joe picking her up from our house. Her car still in the driveway, like she was just running an errand. But those errands stretched into gym dates, lunch dates, even paddleboarding together. Paddleboarding. They were watching sunsets on multiple occasions. Each new discovery was like a fresh punch to the gut. How long has this been going on? How could I be so blind? My brain was racing, trying to piece together every odd glance, every casual mention of Joe, every excuse Shed made to be out of the house. I realized that while I was pouring my energy into our shared future, she was building a future with someone else. The intimate pictures were the absolute breaking point. She sent me a picture of herself, a really personal one, and then, almost casually, she mentioned, "Oh, I sent that to Joe, too." It was like she was testing the waters, or maybe just incredibly brazen. My blood ran cold. I stared at the message, unable to fully process the audacity. She just admitted to sending intimate photos of herself to another man. A man I know. While we are together. This wasn't a weird friendship anymore. This was a blatant disrespect of everything we had. I sat her down. My voice was calm, but I could feel a tremor in my chest. "Jane," I said, looking her directly in the eye, "if you don't remove him from everything, every social media, every contact, and stop seeing him, then we are done. There is no middle ground here." I needed to draw a line in the sand. Make it undeniably clear that this was an ultimatum, not a negotiation. I still clung to the hope that if she understood the gravity, she'd see reason and choose us. She has to see this is wrong. She has to choose me. Right. I was desperate for her to realize the damage she was doing. Her response was chilling in its defiance. She didn't argue. Didn't apologize. She just started turning off her location. She ignored my calls more often. Our conversations became clipped and distant. Physical affection vanished. No more hand-holding. No kisses, good night. Zero intimacy. It was like Shed flipped a switch and locked me out. Her actions screamed, "I don't care about your boundaries." I realized then that my ultimatum hadn't worked. It had only pushed her further away. Or rather, exposed how far away she already was. Every rejection, every cold shoulder, was a confirmation that she was already gone. Then came the text. I was out training kids, trying to keep a semblance of normalcy, when my phone buzzed. "I'm going out with Joe. I'll be home before you finish." I stared at the screen, the words burning into my eyes. She's actually telling me she's going out with him. After everything I said. It was an open act of rebellion. A final slap in the face. My mind went blank for a second, then filled with a cold, clear resolve. This was it. I got home at 7 p.m. Her car was still in the driveway. She wasn't home. I knew. I just knew. I stayed up. The apartment quiet around me. Every ticking clock amplifying the emptiness. I pictured her walking through that door. And I had my speech ready. The relationship was over. I was gonna end it. I waited. And waited. She never came home. At 11:30 p.m. My phone lit up. "We need to talk." The casual lowercase. The total lack of urgency for the person she was breaking up with. "No. We don't." I thought. "You already did your talking." I texted back. Short and sharp. "Just don't do it over social media." I wanted to maintain what little dignity I had left. I wasn't going to let her dump me with a text. At this point, I felt like I was watching my own life unfold from a distance. Like a character in a bad movie. It laid down a clear boundary. And Shed not just crossed it. Shed built a whole new life on the other side. My efforts to save us had only exposed how little there was left to save. What do you do when someone actively chooses disrespect and defiance over your expressed boundaries? How do you even begin to process that level of disregard from someone you thought loved you? That night, after ID asked her not to break up with me over social media, I was just numb. I packed a small bag and left the house. Not knowing where I was going. Just needing to be out. What I found out later, through a mutual friend who just couldn't keep it to himself, was a gut punch. 30 minutes after I left, Jane and Joe were at my old house. They spent the night there. Joe, the pathetic worm, later tried to spin it as protecting her from me. Protecting her from what? I thought. My jaw tight. I'm a cop. For crying out loud. I've never laid a hand on anyone. Never touched a drug. Barely drink. His excuse was pure, unadulterated bullshit. Clearly designed to make him look like a hero and me look like a villain. He claimed he slept on the couch. Yeah. Right. I knew what that meant. And the image of them in my home, my sanctuary, just twisted my insides. For over 6 months, they'd been playing me for a fool, doing God knows what behind my back. Then, just 3 weeks after the breakup, it was all out in the open. My phone started blowing up with messages from mutual friends, telling me what they were seeing on social media. Jane and Joe, ducking every day, posting stories together, flaunting their new little romance. I had already blocked them both before the official breakup, so I didn't see it directly. But the updates were coming in hot. They're not even trying to hide it. I thought, this isn't about love. It's about disrespect. It's a deliberate, public slap in the face. After a couple of days of these updates, it had enough. I sent a blanket text to those friends. Something like, look, I appreciate you guys looking out, but please stop updating me. I need to move on. My goal was to cut off the information flow, to stop their toxic drama from seeping back into my life. Then Joe, through those same mutual friends, tried to get to me. Tell him to unblock me. Had apparently said, I want to clear the air and make things right. My response was short and to the point. Tell him to fuck right off. What exactly did he think there was to clear? Had taken advantage of my kindness, betrayed my trust, and then had the audacity to spread lies about me. And the make things right part. I still see him at training sometimes. He doesn't make eye contact. He doesn't speak to me. He physically flinches if I get too close. He says he wants to talk, but he can't even look at me. I realized. His words are completely empty. He's just trying to ease his own pathetic conscience. Not actually fix anything. The lies he's spreading about me. That I used to beat Jane. That I have a drinking problem. Are just a desperate attempt to justify his actions and paint himself as the good guy. It's pathetic. And it just solidifies what kind of person he really is. Looking back, the signs with Jane were there. Clear as day. The defensiveness when I brought up Joe. The you're insecure. You're petty lines. The way she always wanted to talk about what we can improve on but then never actually put in the work. I just kept thinking, why would she put me through a year of this hell? All this uncertainty. If she was already checked out, why not just leave a year ago and go mess around with that fuckface? It hit me then. The realization finally settling in. She's a narcissist. All those telltale signs. All the gaslighting. It wasn't about me being insecure. It was about her manipulating me to keep her options open while she systematically dismantled our relationship. I felt like an idiot for not picking up on it sooner. For ignoring that persistent voice in the back of my mind that had known for a whole year that this would happen. After all that, after 3.5 years, I figured the least we could do was say goodbye in person. I reached out to her, asking to meet. She ignored me for 2 days. When she finally responded, it was with excuses. She didn't want me to hurt her or yell at her in person. I stood there, phone in hand, utterly stunned. Hurt her. Yell at her. I've never, not once in my life, done anything remotely close to that with anyone I've ever known. This wasn't about her fear. It was about her cowardice and her need to control the narrative. Even in the very end, she was creating a false justification for her refusal to face me. That was the last straw. It had enough of her games. Her excuses. Her utter disrespect. I typed out a message. My fingers firm on the keyboard. Meet me at the park at exactly 7 p.m. I wrote, if you don't show up, I'm leaving and blocking you on everything. I didn't get a response. I showed up at the park at 6:30 p.m. The evening air was cool. A few people were jogging, walking their dogs. I found a bench, pulled out my phone, and watched the clock. Each minute ticked by, slow and deliberate. My heart was thumping, but there was also this growing sense of resolve. I gave her a chance. I'm doing this on my terms now. The second my phone screen flipped to 700 p.m., I didn't hesitate. I pulled up her contact. Sent one last message. I waited for 30 minutes and you didn't show up. I'm putting the spare keys in the mailbox. Goodbye. Then, I went straight to her contact and hit block. And block on social media. And block on everything else. Almost immediately, my phone started blowing up with texts from her. You said around 7? Not on 7. She frantically typed. I just stared at the screen. A small, bitter laugh escaping me. Even now. She's still trying to manipulate. Trying to argue semantics to avoid accountability. I typed a final response. Reread it. Then I blocked that number too. The silence that followed was deafening. But also, surprisingly, peaceful. It's only been a month. The betrayal from Jane is one thing. But Joe's. That's a whole different level. I invited him into my home. Shared my life with him. Considered him a friend. He was just a viper in the grass. Waiting for his chance. It just blows my mind how people can act like that. Especially to their partner and a supposed best mate. I'm upset. Obviously. And still feel the sting of betrayal every day. I've heard all the well-meaning advice. You'll be fine without her. And I know I will be. But how do you deal with the lingering anger? Not just at the breakup, but at the sheer disrespect and the lies Joe is still spreading. How do you move past feeling like such an idiot for missing all the signs? What are your strategies for really cutting off the emotional ties after something this dirty?